He clearly does not care. But if he gets crushed, it's not what's going to determine his decision. But I'll give you some answers to that. The Dallas Mavericks.
Ooh,
Put him with Luka and watch what happens. There's nothing wrong with him going to the Dallas Mavericks, is there?
I don't know how you're going to defend that pick and roll.
Good
You wouldn't be able to
luck.
defend it.
Good luck.
I don't know
They'll
how
win
you're
the
going to
chip.
defend that decision. Jeez, joining another superstar.
Why?
But it's not
everyone
going to
has
matter.
his
He's going to
own.
get
Everyone
crushed.
joins
We're
another
going to be
superstar.
talking about
No,
if
no,
he
no.
goes anywhere except for like OKC for the redemption like LeBron did in Cleveland, or if maybe he goes to like DC and plays for his hometown team.
No. Listen, everyone knows it takes more than one superstar, right? Like you need multiple all-stars on the team. KD going with Luka, that's fine. The issue with KD, the issue with LeBron in Miami is that he got together with another top 3-4 player in the league. You could even argue they were 1 and 2 at that time, plus Chris Bosh. The issue with KD is he upped the ante. He's like, I'm going to go to an already fully baked championship caliber greatest team of all time and just join them. This would be different. This would be like, all right, look, Dallas really needs another piece. I'm the piece. Me and Luka are going to take a little
Still
run at this
Luka's
thing.
team.
It's Luka's
Miami's
team, though.
still Jimmy Butler's
Luka's
team.
team, but it's not.
That's the thing is we've been talking about how, like, people are talking about how he has to win one as the guy. If he goes to Dallas, that's not his team. That's Luka's team.
No, but he's not a point guard. He's like
That's
Luka.
Luka's
He's not the
team.
primary ball handler.
But here's the thing about OKC, right? You have Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you trade for a Kevin Durant, you don't think any one of those guys are going to be wanted in return?
Oh, no, of course not.
That's what I'm saying. So now Kevin,
OKC
now
or
he's
the
in a
DMV
situation where he's just the only guy.
at 33, 34, OKC or the DMV area, even if you were able to kind of get him and Bradley Beal, like if Bradley Beal ends up staying there, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days with Bradley Beal. That's not giving him the best realistic chance to win
No,
championships.
I want to circle back to this ridiculous
Puts more
point that
pressure
it's.
on him too.
Yeah,
More
exactly.
stuff he has to do.
I want to circle back to this ridiculous point. Well, that would be Luka's team. Guys, you guys are missing in the control room. You're missing the point. It's not simply that it was Steph's team. It's that they had already won a championship, and then they won 73 games, and by the skin of their teeth lost to LeBron in Game 7, right, by a possession. That's why it was an issue. The Dallas Mavericks have not sniffed a championship. It's okay to go somewhere where there is another star.
This is why I think this whole conversation is whack anyway. That's why they're not
You're
leaving.
whack.
They're not going to leave. You're telling me that Kyrie is – we're talking about this being a huge story on Kevin Durant where he goes, he's going to somebody else's team. You're telling me Kyrie is going to leave for the mid-level exemption and go to LeBron's team
For $6 million.
for $6 million
No.
and then be the kid again?
When he
After he
wants his money right now.
Exactly. He wants his money, but he's going to go back to being the kid again. Even though I know they've mended their relationship, he's going to be second fiddle to LeBron. Like, that's not – he'll get destroyed too. Their backs are against the
KD
wall.
could go to the
and
Clippers.
here's the thing that
KD
nobody's
could go to the
talking about.
Mavs.
You ready?
No, he can.
Yeah, he can.
It's
Sure he
Kawhi's
can.
team.
Oh, stop. The Clippers have never been to a conference finals.
Here is something
Yes,
that
they did. They
nobody
went
is
last
talking about.
year.
Hold on, Evan. Let me finish my point here. So you guys are always saying, oh, he's going to somebody else's team, right?
Yeah.
When Kyrie was with LeBron, it was seen as LeBron's team, right? Kyrie was like the sidekick,
Yeah.
right? That's something that a lot of reports came out. LeBron referred to him as the kid, all that stuff. Like Kyrie didn't like that. He wanted to
Kyrie
be
got mad at me because
his team.
Kyrie got mad at me because I was like Shaq and Kobe. That's 1A and 1 and 1A. LeBron and Kyrie, it's like LeBron and special secret weapon
Okay,
guy, not
so here we
even
go.
1B.
Even though we get into a debate about
Max
Kevin
fuel in the
Durant
fire.
being the two-time Finals MVP on
Yeah.
Golden State, right? It was Steph's team. He created it, right? Like that
Yeah.
was a major
and they'd already
thing.
won a championship.
So here's my point. You ready? It is they look at each other in Kyrie and KD as equals.
Right.
Now, some people want to say, hey, it's really KD's team. If you ask a lot of people internally, some people might say, oh, it's Kyrie's team. But they see each other as equals.
We have
You're
to
not
get-
going to hold on, Max. You're not going to find that anywhere else if you try to move KD to another team. That's why they're not going to move away from each other. It's theirs together.
Got it. I think that's a great point, and I just want to point out KD is not a point forward primary ball handler guy. So this idea that, well, it's not his team because he's always going to have a playmaker on his team in the backcourt. That doesn't mean it's not like it's of course and by the way, he should have that. Ridiculous. He's not. His game is not exactly like LeBron's or Harden's or someone or Luka's. It's different.
That's fine. That's fine. But if he wins a title in Brooklyn, we are going to look at it as Kevin Durant joined up with Kyrie Irving and led Brooklyn to a title.
Agreed.
I don't know if he goes to Miami, if he goes to Dallas, if he goes to Los Angeles, if that is the conversation. The conversation is once again going to be that Kevin Durant needed to go somewhere that already had an established culture and established superstars.
He
to
couldn't do
win,
it himself.
That he couldn't build it himself.
I agree.
To win a title.
Great.
That's why he ain't
I
going
can't-
nowhere.
But
That
why
is
are we
why he's not
faulting-
going anywhere is exactly the point, Matt.
But why are we faulting the athlete to want to go to a great culture? Like,
Create it. Be a leader, not a follower.
I
Yeah,
understand that, but
it's
it
not-
doesn't
it's-
always work out that way.
Yeah, it's not
so
only
we can't
you.
get upset with a human being for
But,
wanting to go to a
Harry,
great culture.
but Harry, check this out. Wait, this is
This is
check
what
this
we
out.
do,
Hold on,
Harry.
hold on. Here's the thing, and I
get
brought
mad
this
at
up.
humans.
I brought this up the other day. Once upon a time, Larry Bird is born into an NBA. Red Auerbach is his GM. He gets him Mikhail Parrish. Magic Johnson has already got Kareem. Jerry West gets him
Coaches
James Worthy, right? But LeBron was in Cleveland with Dan Gilbert. Right? As an owner, right? So he has to be his own GM, and he makes the super team in Miami. Now, in this era, who are we comparing KD to? Who is his real contemporary competition? LeBron. Yeah. So part of the question with KD is not just KD, the basketball player, but KD, the GM. Can he overcome a culture or create his own culture? Whether or not that's fair, that's how he's being judged.
I don't think that's fair to Kevin Durant.
I don't think it's fair either, but it's the world that we live in.
And LeBron
It's
did
not
it.
fair, right?
LeBron
but I will
did
tell
it
you,
in Cleveland with Dan Gilbert.
But so this comes down to decision making, right? As it relates to being a de facto GM. The first decision was he paired up with Kyrie Irving. Right, so there's so much at stake here for KD in this thing. That's why you need to make it work.
Bingo.
That's why if Kyrie leaves, the egg on the face of KD, who chose to partner with him, it's a bad look.
But Jay, really, that's leverage for Brooklyn. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.